万门大学的小伙伴们，大家好，我是兰菲利博士，是莱特研究大学的应用神经科学教授。我今天很荣幸给你介绍 Bob Wright 博士，他今天会给你们讲如何从一个好的生活到一个特别好的生活。那么这个研究会来自于一些关于性格的研究。那么比较有名的关于性格的研究表明性格就是一个特征，而且不能改变。但是其实这个并不一定是对的，而且有一点大了。巴博士其实会把我们其他的一些研究来给我们学生看，然后看其实生活其实并不一定是固定的，而且是可以改变的。之前的性格研究者，比如说 Costa McCrae 发现这5种性格类型一辈子都不会改变的。但是其实那些5种性格类型之内的一些小因素其实可以改变的。巴博士今天会给你们讲他的性格模式和性格模型如何去解释不同人追求幸福感的一些方式，而且如何追求一个特别好的生活。我们去上课吧。
Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Wright, and I'm glad to be talking with you again today. Are you as happy as you want to be, or are you as happy as you can be? Well, do you have a good life? I feel sorry for you. As Jimmy Collins says in his book, From Good to Great, good is the enemy of great. But there are people who have studied great lives and very, very happy lives. And one of those is Dr. Martin Seligman. His research is ongoing and he's finding out more and more about happiness, but he identified different kinds of happiness. The first kind of happiness is pleasure, pleasant, a good time at the beach. And the next kind of happiness is working hard, is having a good time. But the highest level of happiness, until his most recent research, has been working with meaning in your life and a sense of higher purpose and meaning. One of the reasons so many people become workaholics is, as in the book Flow, Dr. Csikszentmihalyi has demonstrated that more people are happy and engaged and flowing at work than they are in the rest of their lives. Because most of us don't know how to live a life that is focused on satisfaction and fulfillment. Now, we've talked a little bit in other parts of the series about the growth mindset and other elements of happiness. But I want to talk today a little bit more about the challenges that each of our 4 personality styles faces to live with that greatest meaning and happiness. And one of our low-risk personalities, the cooperator, spends most of their time focused on other people's happiness. They don't really even know how to recognize their own internal feelings. They need to learn to recognize their own feelings, and they need to learn to risk making other people unhappy. Otherwise, they will never fulfill their potential and live as happily as they could. And I'm going to tell you the story of a young woman just like that after I tell you about the other personality style that also has among the biggest challenges in being happy. And that's what we call the analyzer. The analyzer wants everything exact. They live their lives afraid of being wrong. Happiness requires mistakes, learning and growing, as we discussed in the growth mindset. And the analyzer needs to loosen up. Now, you'll notice that I didn't talk about greater meaning, because some people try to get greater meaning by ignoring themselves. The cooperator may work for a company that's doing great things, but if the cooperator isn't living for her own satisfaction each moment, meaning is not going to be there for her. The same way with the analyzer. They need to know why they're doing the numbers, why they're trying to avoid making the mistakes. This meaning is very, very important. And it always starts with me. It may serve you. In order to be truly meaningful, it has to serve you too. That's kind of a big challenge, you and me. Win-win. Big challenge for both of these personality styles. Then our energizers tend to act very happy. But when you really get to know them, they don't know how to deal with their sadness because they think their sadness is a barrier to meaning, when sadness and fulfilling and dealing with our own pain and loss is critical to meaning. One of the main times that we face extreme sadness is when we lose a loved one who's died. Some people think they're supposed to deny the sadness. But sadness in and of itself is the loss of a pleasure. And how can I celebrate the meaning of someone in my own life if I'm not willing to feel sad about the loss of the pleasure that we had? If I'm not willing to learn to take lessons from them and take that into my future? There's so many ways that we can grow meaning, way more than I can go into. Our other personality style is the regulator. The regulator tends to be very good at getting things done and appears to be always focused on meaning. But the regulator, like the analyzer, doesn't know how to bring themselves into the equation. The regulator is a visionary, pushes to get things done, but I've coached some very serious regulator executives. And I actually had the head, the CEO of a major division of a major global company break down in tears when I asked him what his personal purpose was. Now, this is an organization that has the greatest sense of meaning and mission. They go to where there are catastrophes around the globe. They heal people, they feed people, they help people in crisis. That is their mission. Great meaning in the company, but not great meaning in him. I had the pleasure of running into him 20 years later, and he told me what a big difference not only that made in his life, but his family's lives. Because as he learned to live with greater meaning, his contact with them was better. And there was more meaning moment by moment in his being with them. But I want to talk about the challenge to living with meaning. And I'm going to tell you this story about a girl. Her name isn't Jane, but Jane was pretty. She still is pretty. And she was a cooperator. She went along with everyone. She was the arm piece to her husband, and he was proud to go around with her. But she really didn't know what life was about for her. She was an artist, and she loved to escape into her art, and she made her living as a designer, but she didn't exist yet. She hadn't learned to speak up and to say what she really thought. And as a cooperator, she needed to become more like a regulator. Now, well, that was a pretty big shock to her. First of all, she was dependent on her boss. She needed her boss to give her work so that she could make money. But in the 2008 recession, there was no more work coming in, so she had to learn to sell. She had to become more independent. She had to become more like an energizer, more like a regulator. She did. She learned how to do that. And then she was hired away and paid a great deal of money to be the head of sales and start new offices for another firm. Well, she was great at that. She developed more and more meaning. And meaning in her life started not just serving her clients, but developing the people that she led, is helping them have better lives, helping them have more meaning in life. Happiness is way more than we think it is. Too many times people think that happiness is an escape. There's a saying in the United States, "Thank God it's Friday." Huh? Where was the rest of your week? What was in the way of you enjoying that week? What was the way of you being fulfilled that week? Of course, we want to rest on a weekend. We want to recreate, to recreate ourselves, to rejuvenate ourselves. But thank God it's Friday. Thank God I'm alive. Thank God that I have an opportunity to touch you and to talk to you and to have you talk to me and to have you touch me. Critical piece of this story. So this young woman has learned to live a massively meaningful life. She's truly happy instead of acting happy all the time. And here comes the rub. There was a study started at Harvard University in 1938, and they started studying 268 of the Harvard men. There were no women at Harvard at the time. The ones who were brilliant, the ones who had money, the ones that were voted, the ones that were going to be happiest and most successful were not the ones most successful. The ones that were most successful were the ones that learned to live meaningful lives. The ones that actually had the growth mindset we've talked about before. They weren't the smartest, but they were the most engaged, and they were the ones who learned and grew. They were the cooperators who learned how to be regulators, the analyzers that learned how to be energizers. They learned from each other. The regulators, the controlling ones, learned to be mellower. The excited ones learned to be more detailed. We all have so much to learn in this life. And remember, learning and growing are a major part of that greatest happiness, living a meaningful life. Thank you for joining me.